Hey everyone, today we're doing some St. Louis style back ribs. Now the reason you might want to do these in a standing rib roast fashion occasionally is if you find that you may have more ribs than you have grilling space. And this is a very easy way to get around that problem. Instead of laying them flat on the grill and taking up maximum grill area, what you do is actually tie them up so they stand on end like a column, and this will dramatically reduce the square inches each rack of ribs will take. And this will allow you to obviously cook more ribs. What you can see I'm doing here is taking some butcher's twine or kitchen string and tying the racks of ribs up as tight as you can. Now it's not going to be perfect, but it'll allow you to create sort of like a roll here, an awesome rib roll. And what you want to do is do this with as many racks of ribs as you have. And then you place them in a container. Now, people will use a cast iron pan, but in my case, I'm using a trusty tin foil container you can pick up at any dollar store. And boom, through the magic of video, we have all 3 racks of ribs rolled up. My Traeger, if you did this with 2 pans, it allows you to do 6, possibly even a couple in the corners, 8 racks of ribs in this method, where you could never get 8 racks of ribs on the Traeger normally. So I oil them up with some virgin olive oil, and then I'm going to take your favorite rub. In my case, is the stuff that I've been using in my own recipe that I've developed with brown sugar and whatever else I got going on. And of course, you got to add a little bit of fluid here. Now it's going to render a lot of pork fat, but I like to add a little bit of beer there just to make things start off so nothing's too dry or burns to the pan. Once your Traeger's set up to smoke mode here and things are ready to go, quite simply, you take your pan of ribs and place them in the Traeger and close the door. Now we want to set that temperature to 225, oops, not 250, back down to 225, and let her go. Now, I let it go for about 2 hours before I even lift the lid for the first time. This entire cook's going to be about 5 to 5.5 hours by the time you're done, but this will allow you to basically time it so that whenever you want to eat, that's when you can take them off. But after about 2 hours, I start taking them out and I'll baste them with your favorite barbecue sauce and close the lid. Get it going. At about the 2.5 to 3 hour mark, I like to do what's called adding a Texas crutch, which is simply a couple of pieces of tin foil. This will allow you to continue to cook the ribs without risking any dryness and allow everything to sort of stay self-contained. So throw a couple of sheets of tin foil on there after you've basted the barbecue sauce and set the lid. Now, every 20 to 25 minutes or when you're done drinking a beer, go over there to your lid, lift it up, take off your tin foil, and then we're going to do baste and repeat. So take out your wonderful ribs, get your barbecue sauce and your brush, and occasionally what I'll do is also get a nice spoon and baste it with some of that amazing pork juice that's been rendered, that's been sitting in the extra rub at the bottom of the pan. And through a combination of pork juice and the barbecue sauce, just let her go. So close the lid, go grab another beer, relax, and in that 20 to 25 minute mark, you're gonna come back and do it all again. So yes, the beer is important. Once you get we're about three hours into this cook. We're gonna take a quick peek. You can see the color's really starting to come along. Sometimes they'll fall over a little, but that's fine. Here I am basting with the pork fat, and then we're gonna add another round of barbecue sauce. Let it sit there. I mean, it's starting to look the shine was incredible in these things. They're coming along really nice. What you do at that point then is just put your tinfoil back on and stick it back in the grill. And now we're going around again. Well, we're 3.5 hours here, I think, possibly 4. And again, we're baste again. Throw on a little bit of the pork juices that are floating around the bottom pan if you want. Cover up and throw it back in. It's a rough life. Go for a dip in the pool, have another beer, and now we're looking like, wow, we're 4.5 hours into what I plan to be a 5-hour cook. So for the last half hour, we're gonna see if we can get a little bit more smoke flare, let the barbecue sauce tack up a little bit. So we're gonna give it one final basting here, and then we're gonna let them sit there at 225 degrees for another half hour to take us to that full 5-hour mark. Slip it back in there, close the lid. We're gonna darken up a little bit more, give it a last final baste with the juices, and then we're gonna seal this puppy up and go set up the table and get ready to eat. Now we're finally done. This is the hardest part here. You're gonna pull them out and you're gonna let it rest. If you cut it right now, the meat's just gonna rip right off the bone. It's gonna be a little too soft. You want these ribs to set a little bit, which is gonna allow for much easier cutting. And of course, some of your juice is gonna suck back in. So once they've sat there, you can actually cut it while standing up, at least the first few ribs, and you'll find that you just find between two bones and the knife will slide right down. Now, contrary to popular opinion, you don't want bones sliding right out of the pork. What you wanna do is have just enough tension left on the meat, so when you take a bite, you'll actually see the bite mark. So you can see the nice beautiful smoke ring here after cooking in there for 5 hours. And now the best part, let's take a few bites. So these ribs were fantastic. Really liked the flavor, really liked the texture. They weren't too bad, and I'd highly recommend trying this out sometime.